Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Financial Advisors Want to Know podcast. I'm Catherine Tindall. I'm a partner here at Dominion Enterprise Services. We're a CPA firm that specializes in working for wealth management firms as their tax professionals. But on today's episode, I have with me Laura Garfield. She started her career in broadcast journalism, learning how to ask the right questions and get to the heart of the story. But in 2014, she co-founded Idea Decanter, with the specific aim to help advisors leverage digital content to build authority and grow their businesses. And since you're watching this on video, we're going to have a conversation about, what we're doing with these video pieces and what advisors should be thinking about and things that Laura's been seeing in practice for different firms. So thanks for joining me today, Laura.
Thanks so much for having me, Catherine. I think we have evolved from this society that liked to read. And I am still a passionate reader with a stack of books by my bed, but to a society that watches a lot of video.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I found even in my practice, we've gotten to the point now where instead of typing, I'll type emails as a record of what's going on, but in reality, like I send a lot of videos to our advisor clients because I'm like, I don't want you to have to read another thing. Like you can just watch this. You can, it's much more digestible for people to feel like they're in a conversation than just throwing a text wall at them, especially I think for a lot of the advisors, and I experience this as a tax professional, is just when you're dealing with technical content that can be kind of hard to translate, outside of meetings when you're having to communicate things, video can be very reassuring because it's just, we lose so much like in email communication.
And there's some research that shows that at least 80% of emails are read with a negative connotation. And so people like click open on your email and start reading it in kind of a bitchy voice, I guess.
Yeah.
And when you record that same kind of message, we use Loom all of the time, and I use it with clients, and I use it internally too, because for me, it's just easier to click record and say, let's do X, Y, and Z the next time. And then it's really clear what tone I was trying to deliver it in. It's not open to interpretation.
Yeah. No, so I find just as an internal tool, it's really helpful. But then as an external tool, I've found it to be really, really helpful for us because I get asked a lot of the same questions over and over again, especially from people who have not been working with us. I'll get a lot of the same kinds of things. And so it's like, okay, well, I just need to record a couple videos about this. And then instead of me having to recreate the wheel every time I get this question, especially when it's someone who's an advisor who's not a client who just wants to shoot me a quick question, that I'm able to get, general information out very efficiently.
Yeah, I think a great rule of thumb is if it's the third time you had to answer the same question, record it. Here's the link. Here's the answer. I don't have to say this again.
Yeah. And I guess an important component of that too, which we have, is like making sure that you've got some kind of database where all of that is going and getting stored so that you can have other people on your team have access to the right things for them to reply for you, or, even internally. But I guess, maybe just to center this more on what you've been seeing with firms deploying video successfully, what are some of the biggest challenges or like the general path that you've been seeing firms take with adopting more video usage in their practices?
Well, video use has exploded. I mean, my co-founder Sharon and I started the company in 2014, and I think it was just on that first wave of advisors realizing, hey, if I put a video on the homepage of my website, when people check me out, they will have a different experience getting to know me, and I will be different from other advisor websites that they're checking out. And then we have been evolving the company as content marketing has evolved, and video has become a real prime player in content marketing. And what we saw work 5 years ago is not what we see work today. The attention spans, and I really do blame TikTok and my kids' love of TikTok with this trickle down effect that we all have, that our attention spans are just shrinking and shrinking. And so people want their messages in very, very short format. And they want it in a way that fills up their screen. So I hold up my phone because we hold our phones like this, and that is perfect format for vertical video. You know, we always used to shoot in a landscape or horizontal orientation. And today, people just want to swipe through your messages. And that first 3 to 5 seconds of what you say is the most important real estate in your entire video. One mistake I see advisors make all the time is introducing themselves off the top of the video. Hi, I'm Laura Garfield. I'm co-founder of Idea Decanter. Well, that didn't catch anybody's attention, and it's at the bottom of the screen. So it's really thinking about what's going to stop my viewer in the scroll, what's going to be meaningful to them, educational, powerful, move them to action, and how can I deliver that like in a pretty succinct fashion? Because I don't know about you, Catherine. I don't know how long your attention span is, but we want to be entertained. We want our information and we want to move on.
Yeah, that's true. And I wonder, you know, I think what that frame always makes me think of too is, well, what's the end game of the communication, and what is the person who's receiving this getting out of it? Because if I'm focusing on something that is a known pain, and we're just talking about the pain and trying to resolve a pain, I'm going to get a much longer attention span than just me giving information, right? Like, do you want to know how to file an 1120? Like, nobody wants to know that, but they want to know, answer my pain point, like answer my, you know, my problem. So I wonder, you know, let's take an example. Like if you have a firm currently doing nothing with video, starting from scratch, what's the first step for them to start thinking about doing this, or like getting started with it? Like, what's the general process that you see for actually getting going with utilizing it? Just a slight interruption in this conversation. I wanted to bring to your attention two things that are important for you to know. So we're always at the mercy of social media algorithms. So if you can subscribe to the show, that would mean a lot to me. Even more to me if you can leave a rating and let me know what you think about it. But we have a new newsletter that's coming out. It's going to be very active in 2025. That is specifically around tax issues that I'm seeing advisors face in their own practices, changes in legislations, and the pieces that I think are critically important for you to stay ahead of as an advisor with the new administration. So nearby, wherever you're interacting with this, will be the link of how to sign up for our newsletter. Also nearby will be the link to my LinkedIn, which is the best way to get in touch with me, learn more about what we're doing for advisors in the tax strategy and compliance work that we do, and also to get access to the various tools and interviews and things that I do, specifically designed to help you improve your practice, improve your own tax situation, etc. So let's get back to the episode, and thanks for tuning in.
Well, I always think that first impression is the best place to start. That value proposition on the homepage of your video. I guess if one thing hasn't changed in the past 11 years, it's that your website is still an important piece of your marketing strategy. The homepage is the most hit page on that website. And if people prefer to consume their content in video, you ought to have a video there, at least one video on the homepage. And to your point, Catherine, it needs to have we call it the WIIFM, what's in it for me. It's not, we started this firm 20 years ago and we blah, 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 blah.
Nobody cares. Yeah.
No. Like, these are the problems that landed you here on this page looking for a new advisor.
Yeah.
Your prospect wants to be seen and they want to believe that you can deliver on the solution that they're looking for. I would say the second step beyond that would be to heat map your website. And when we do that with advisors, what we find is the second most hit pages on their websites are their bio pages. And so adding video to those pages is really powerful because people do business with people. And so if you can watch a video and get to know someone, it's a different experience than reading a bio about them, especially if it's more structured as a why story, not a here's a list of my credentials. I did X, Y, and Z. I've got all of these certifications, but some reason why you believe what you believe, why you do what you do. And then next step, once you have sort of those pieces of your marketing strategy developed, then figuring out a way to use them as a utility player. So it's great to get those, posted on YouTube and plugged into your website, but then what else can you do with them? If you had a why story and pinned it to your profile on LinkedIn, if someone lands on your profile, they get to know you better there. If you had a value proposition that was on the homepage of your website and you could pin it to your business profile on LinkedIn, also bonus points. And then working it into your email lead funnel. So as a prospect books a first meeting with you, if you can deliver a video about, looking forward to meeting you on Tuesday, going to ask you a bunch of questions about you. Here's a little bit about me, include the video. And for advisors who are doing this, they get prospects whom they've never met, come in the door, sit down with them and say, I feel like I already know you. From a couple of minutes they spent watching a video about you. And that's a really powerful place for advisors to start a conversation.
So I think for, kind of the big takeaway from your points there is just treat the video like a nurturing process, because it's letting you record one time, but then you have the opportunity of, I always make the joke when I have these videos internally to people. It's just, when we have time that's live on the phone, I already know who I am. So I want to be talking about you. Like, I want to get to know you. And so you can learn who I am without me having to give that story live, but I can't do that same thing for you. But really like treating it like that nurturing process, because I've heard a statistic, and maybe you can correct me if this is wrong, if I'm misremembering this, but it's something like, for somebody first discovering you to somebody actually buying, like the typical amount of content that they need to consume and touches that they need to have, it's surprisingly high for what you would think. It's like, if you have a lot of content and things available, people will consume a lot of that content and make a lot of their buying decision prior to them even talking to you. And so the more you give them information that allows them to go through that journey on their own, by the time they talk to you, it's not you trying to convince them to become a client. It's more just making sure that we're a good fit, and then, making sure that you've got alignment on any specific issues that they have, but usually that they've already kind of made the decision by the time they talk to you, if you give them that information.
The research I have seen is that it used to be 7 brand touches to move someone to action, and now it's 30.
Whoa. It's getting worse.
Exponentially
I was
different.
hoping it was going to get better.
And what's interesting, and it kind of returns to a point about longer format content you were making earlier, is that if you think about your lead funnel, and at the top, you've got people who are just beginning to discover you, and in the middle, they're more bought in, and at the bottom of that lead funnel, they're converting, they're signing up. In the middle, that audience has a much longer attention span. They have already discovered you in short format that feeds them into, it's kind of, I heard one advisor talk about it as a teaser trailer movie. So what can you put out as a teaser that pulls them in and makes them want to find out more? And at that movie level, you could be talking about, a 15-minute podcast or a 30 or 45-minute webinar, a deeper dive on a topic that they really care about, with a clear call to action at the end never hurts if you are trying to drive them through the bottom of the funnel.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think, for firms that want to be doing the video, and from your experiences, what are common stumbling blocks that maybe firms don't anticipate when they get involved? They decide that it's going to be part of their strategy. They want to implement video. Common issues that you've encountered, or things that you find tend to surprise firms when they go to do this?
I think compliance is always the monster that feels like it's lurking under the bed or in the closet or behind the
Yeah.
door. And from doing this for over a decade, what we've found is that that is usually unfounded.
Hmm.
Um, it is very rare that we run across a compliance officer who really wants to work as your anti-business development partner.
Hmm.
Usually they just want to make sure that you're not going to get slapped with a fine. And so following common sense, don't make promises, don't make guarantees. Like beyond that, don't endorse products. Those kinds of things are going to be obvious to any, one who's in the business and worth their salt. So if you follow those kinds of guidelines that are pretty common sense, you're going to be working within the compliance guidelines. I mean, you probably needed a disclosure at the end of your video. But beyond that, passing it through compliance, getting their blessing is always great. I would say the other big barrier for a lot of folks is all in their head.
Mm.
And that is people are going to judge me. I'm going to look like a hack. I'm not going to be great on camera.
Hmm.
And most people don't like it when I say this, but your first video is your worst video. And
Yeah.
the only way to get better is to keep doing it.
Yeah, and I think if you realize, like, this was my perspective when I started doing video, is that I'm not doing this because I need people to think I'm good. I'm doing this because I know I can help more people doing this, and that my ability, if I can figure out the marketing and the digital content strategy, the ideas and things that I have that are genuinely useful to my audience of advisors, I don't need them to all become clients. I don't want them to all become clients, but it just coming at it from this is just going to allow me to help more people, and this is going to allow me to really magnify my ability to create value for other people for something that's so low cost for me. It's like, it just, once you've got the system set up, it's just my time.
Mhm.
And then other people can get so much out of this, even if they never become a client. Like, that's just such a gift into the world.
Mhm.
That was the perspective I took, and then I became a lot less self-conscious, because I'm like, I don't care if they think I'm foolish, or I don't care if they think I look bad, because I just want to help people. And I know that if I can do this and I
Mhm.
can get my experience translated into a format that other people can consume it, that I can help more people like that. And so you become less self-conscious, I think. That's
Mhm.
been my experience.
Yeah. And I think that making that decision that I am going to shift my mindset so that I can start doing this and get past all of the things that are holding me back.
Hmm.
I mean, there is no time like the present. I have an interview series where I interview advisors who have killed it with video marketing on their own, not people who we work with at Idea Decanter, but people who have gone out and figured this out on their own.
Hmm.
Because I wanted it to be an inspirational series. And what I have heard over and over is they've found success, and if they hadn't made that decision in 2019, in 2021, in 2023, they would still be sitting in the same chair that they were sitting in, having the same questions in their head. And the difference between the advisor who hasn't done it and the team that has is that they just made the decision. We
Mm.
are going to start this now.
Yeah, that's great. So for firms that are interested in getting into your world, Laura, what's the best place for them to kind of learn more about what your team does, and get access to resources and things that you guys have put together?
Well, we have all kinds of info at ideadecanter.com. You can watch a demo. You can join the community. We have a community of 2,500 plus advisors. Be the first to be in the know and get exclusive access to events and all of the tips and tricks. We found that, most advisors who are doing video feel like they're out there kind of hacking their way through the jungle on their own, that
Hmm.
there was no community around what's working and how do I get results and how do I overcome these challenges. And so we decided to create it. And support people, whether they were working with us or doing it themselves. So I'd invite you to join. We call it the Real Finfluencers community. So you can join that on our website too.
That's great. Is it real, REEL or REAL?
Oh, that would have been cute. It's REAL. So not a finfluencer that's out there giving really bad advice about crypto or Bitcoin, but a finfluencer who is out there giving real solid financial advice.
So if you had one last piece of wisdom to share before we go, what do you think firms need to hear in 2025?
Well, because we're talking about this in 2025 and the markets have been volatile this year, especially, we're sitting here and the past couple of months, we've been watching tariff news. I would say that this is a year that when the market drops, opportunity knocks. It's a good time to remember that money is in motion. When people get nervous about what's happening to their investments, they start reevaluating the advice they're getting now and looking around and comparing advisors. So if you are successfully out there sharing your brand, sharing your perspective, sharing your personality, then that gives you an advantage because the number one reason clients say they leave their advisor is because of lack of communication.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great. So for those of you listening, we'll have links around for how to get to the Idea Decanter website, Laura's LinkedIn, so you can connect with her there. And, thank you again, Laura, for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. It's always great to have, thought leaderships for things that I think as a technical professional, we find it challenging, especially when people are transitioning into firm ownership of, now I'm having, now there's a whole other layer of the marketing and business development and having to get myself uncomfortable. And I think for a lot of people, having those resources around video it makes a huge difference because it's so impactful when it's deployed correctly. So I want to thank you again for coming on the show. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So for the advisors listening, I'd love to hear your feedback. You can always drop me a line on LinkedIn or leave a review. And this was another episode of the Financial Advisors Want to Know podcast.